Hello guys, it's me again, and today I'm here in the virtual world of Beamng Drive, and something very exciting I have been working on. This is a pack that I'm putting on the Beamng repository under the automation category, which has pretty much all of the major versions of the air-cooled Gull done to the highest fidelity I could. Technical specifications, performance handling, and visual looks with all the little neat features that differentiate all the versions. And I'm here to do a video to showcase all of them. Link is going to be in the description below. So if you have Beamng Drive, just go on, download it, and have fun. First version we have here is this 1980 standard version. Standard version is it's a very curious version. So this car was only sold. You couldn't find this car in a regular Volkswagen dealer as a. You went to a Volkswagen dealer in 1980s, you wouldn't find this car. This was a car that was specially ordered from the factory for businesses. You know, telephone companies, police vehicles, fleet vehicles. It was a very basic low-cost version of the Gull. This one running on a 1300 ethanol engine with two carburetors, making 40 horsepower. Very basic, very Spartan car. It was a these cars were designed for work. There was also a panel van version of it, which I will add it to the mod eventually. You have to do a lot of major surgery to the back to make it work for that. And yeah, let's showcase this one. So it will become apparent after I show you the higher spec versions, but this car is very Spartan. So here on the exterior, you have primer black bumpers. They are not chrome. No rubber. Oh, camera going crazy here. No rubber moldings around them. Steel wheels. Those are, all they're the same for all the Gulls. Mirrors. This car has a very curious feature. If you notice here, one filler cap. Taillights, 1980. As I spoke on my last video, red taillights. And another fuel cap. Early Gulls, if you look at pictures, in 1980, the Gull had a single barrel carburetor, 1.3 liter engine, hemispherical heads, designed by Porsche. Hemispherical heads and the the cooling system was designed by the Porsche engineering team. It was a time where Porsche outsourced his engineering. That's where the 924 came from. It was a Volkswagen project that Porsche designed for Volkswagen. Volkswagen abandoned the project and then became the Porsche 924. Volkswagen of Brazil hired Porsche to develop the air cooling system for the front. Originally, the Gull was designed to use two carburetors, a 7.8 to 1 compression ratio with the 1.3 liter engine, which would give it adequate performance compared to its competitor, the 147 here in Brazil. But when the engine came to Brazil, the Volkswagen of Brazil engineers were worried for warranty issues and costs. So to cut costs, they put a single carburetor, and for running on a hot Brazilian climate, they were worrying about knocking with the high compression ratio, especially with the poor fuel we had at the time. So they cut the compression down to 6.8 to 1, which gave the car pretty weak performance. Uh, but those cars had the spare wheel under the hood, like in my car. When they added the two carburetors, they couldn't fit the other carburetor underneath the wheel because it was with its fascia facing downwards. So they added the spare wheel on the trunk, which you can't see here. Uh, I have a version of this car in automation, which with all of the chassis details, engine, base suspension, all that stuff. But if for the sake of not burning your computer down, I cut all of that, so this car only has what you see for the exterior. So it's a drivable car, drivable working mod. So anyways, and then they moved the rear wheel backwards, and for the ethanol version, well, ethanol cars you have to have a tank with that you can inject fuel into the carburetors, so it starts on gasoline and then starts running on ethanol. So it will start easier in the mornings, which was a common thing with these ethanol powered cars of the 80s. And this reservoir stayed here on the boot. They added a second filler cap to the car just for the 5 liter or so gas reservoir that was there. When they had the idea to, face reverse the spare wheel and put it back under the hood, they also removed this reservoir and put it on this space here. There's a little, here's the airbox and all that stuff. The ignition module stays here, and they added the little reservoir here. I think they added it back here to reuse parts from the Brasilia being a rear engine, and the reservoir stayed up front with the fuel tank. So I think they did that to reuse parts. Coming here in the interior, now you're going to notice it's a very Spartan car. No headrests, you have vinyl seats, doesn't have complete carpet, only has one of those places, well, it doesn't have here, and underneath the car floor mats, it's kind of dark, but you can see the outline here, it wouldn't have there. So, no electric washer, has the little pump like you would find in a 60s Volkswagen. This orange button here is for the injector, fuel injector. The most basic dash you could get, no partial odometer, no tach, no econ meter, no clock, no nothing. Very, very basic car. No chrome accents, no radio, no no fan, no air cooled walls, had air conditioning, so it doesn't even go say that. But it doesn't even have a fan or your window defrogger, frogger, not a fucking frog. No, nothing. No radio, no lighter. It even has a sun visor for just one side. So it is a fleet car, very Spartan, very cheap. Regular people couldn't even buy this version in 1980. We'll get to that when we get to the BX version of the car. So yeah, I'm gonna fire it up and let's go for a drive, and I'll talk about a bit of the work that's gone into making this car handle, sound, behave like the car would. Another thing to point out, and this is not even for the base version, you could get an L Gall with this. Radial tires were optional equipment, so early Galls, if you didn't opt for radial tires, you would get bias ply tires, which makes the handling very curious. And this being a base model, the front sway bar was an option now. So this car has no sway bars, which handles kind of funny. So yeah, let's go for a slow drive. Fire up that air-cooled engine. Ethanol takes a while. Indicator. Oh, sorry. Indicators. No reverse lights. Little 1.3 box for purring. All the cars have steering wheel gauges, everything. Gauge lighting. If I show here the environment, I put night. It has the corrected brightness for the headlights, which are horrible. My real life car has these headlights, and it's absolutely terrible. Yeah, let's switch back here to day. No sway bars and those little bias-ply tires are just light to lean a bit. This here is light material, and I couldn't figure out how to get rid of it correctly. Yeah, very basic version of the car. Didn't have the Volkswagen emblem, just says Gull. Bottom with a barrel gauge. This is like the slowest and most bare bones Gull. Color options, it's the default automation colors, but the colors do work for the mixer, so you can paint it whatever color you like. This is a very common color. Right, let's go to the next car, which I painted the color of the next car. This is the BX. The BX came along in 1984 for it was the reason, the following reason. The Gall with the air-cooled engine had its image pretty scarred after the 1300 model. 1600 kind of fixed it, but it still wasn't good compared to the competition. And Volkswagen launched the Gall GT. The GT had a water-cooled 1.8-liter engine, very modern car. Actually, the fastest production car in Brazil in 1984 when it was launched. I'm saying numbers. It was the fastest, no top speed, and acceleration, all that. I think acceleration actually I think the Opala was a bit better in acceleration, but top speed and handling was amazing. Only the XR3 had better handling than it, but the Brazilian XR3, the Escort, had a Renault engine that was an old antiquated engine, and it was a 1.6 liter engine, so it didn't even match the Gall GT, which we don't have in this pack. It ends up thing for a future pack. Um, this is the BX. So in '84 the GT was launched. In '85 the SNLS version, which was the regular Gall versions, the air-cooled engines, received the 1.6 liter water-cooled engine. And Volkswagen, to make a very entry model car, took that standard version that they had already in production, added a couple of creature comforts back, and made the BX version, which was the entry level Golf for 1984, 85, and 86 when it stopped being produced. BX is a very basic car, but it has radial tires, standard, the sway bar standard, so that's the difference from the standard, and it has a 1.6 liter ethanol running air-cooled engine, and it's double carbs too, so it's a pretty nice car. This car, you're gonna notice it's a bit quieter than the other 1.6. This car had a special air filter design that would kind of quiet the intake noise down. Not a lot. It's still an air-cooled engine. It will just clatter along happily. Yeah. So post 80 car, so it already has orange indicators, which still looks weird without a reverse light, but it is what it is correct to the car. Back here you have the full emblems, which this being an '85 BX would have. So Volkswagen emblem here. Gall and BX. This was just a little sticker. It wasn't like the full-fledged emblem from the S and the LS. Again, primer black bumpers, already has the later model guards for the side of the bumpers. Out here, 1.6 emblem calling out being a 1.6, which was actually kind of a big deal. Being the BX was the cheapest car sold in Brazil in '85, and already in its base model, you already got a 1.6 liter engine, which it was a sales attractive. Although it was an antiquated air-cooled engine, it was a 1.6 liter engine that came with the torque that a 1.6 liter engine can provide, compared to, for example, the Uno, the Fiat Uno, what they have here, which was based on the 147 platform in Brazil, that came standard with a 1.3 liter engine. It was a little plus for your money. You don't get a lot more though. Still same interior trim as standard. No headrests, no full carpet. 85 already, some of the stuff in dash change. Still don't get a lot, but have a different font, 190 kilometer speedometer. Being a post 84, well, being an '85 car, the fuel injector is placed on this side with the choke. You already have the newer model interior light. You have a sun visor for both passenger and driver. And that's it. Let's fire up and drive this one a bit. Yep. As you can see, this 1.6 liter engine is a bit quieter. It's noisier than the 1.3 liter engine. Also two carburetors, so yeah, let's go for a drive now. The handling of this one is way better. Go for a little drive on the highway. These are not fast cars, they give you a good rolling torque. Don't have my steering wheel hooked up here at the moment, but if you do, you can just like really good. Just better to throttle, leave the car's inertia, carry the edge, and just go up in your gears. And, you're gonna cruise this car third or fourth gear. First is almost a crawler gear, really, just to get the car out of inertia. These cars work past the top, so you can see that it's a great gear ratio now. Even though this car had a 3.85 final drive ratio, which was smallest final drive here in Apple. You couldn't have less rotation than that. With the 30-inch rim, the Gall units, it still wasn't really enough. So this car is next car is the the Copa edition. This one is a very interesting one. It is basically your standard Gol LS 1.6 from 1982, just one of my real life cars. But this car has some special things which were made to commemorate the FIFA World Cup, the Soccer World Cup 1982, which Brazil lost for Spain. Yeah, it would have been the nice history of the car. You know, Brazil won the World Cup when this car was made, just like the 1984, no, the 1994 Copa edition for the Gol. Yep, things happen. So yeah, what does this car have of like neat little accessories? Starting off here in the front, you have color keyed bumpers, CBS Sierra 2 fog lights, 1.6 sticker just like the X, still in the early style lighting here. You have the special side molding with Copa writing. You have the black tail light, well, license plate holder. Volkswagen emblems here. You have the little soccer ball indicating this Copa edition. The big Copa sticker, which the GT would later on have that too. Texture didn't kind of work out. I couldn't figure out what I was doing with the black frame. Inside, you have a pretty custom interior. So you have the Passat TS steering wheel. This would eventually be used on the Gol GT. You have attack. You have a fuel gauge, and you have a clock. And if you notice from my videos, you would think, oh, strange, the top of the line special edition one doesn't have an econometer, and that's another piece of Brazilian legislation. So in 1980s in Brazil, you had to have the indication for the gear pattern somewhere in the car, and that's due to another accessory that the Copa has. So it doesn't have the econometer to indicate the gears because on the Copa, the gear knob is a little sucker ball, which I was always kind of mad at Volkswagen on the Gol GTS. They added the Golf gear knob on the Gol GTS, and not this, because this is cooler. You know, Gol soccer, you have the little soccer ball. Pretty interesting marketing thing Volkswagen did there, and I really like it. Well, the Copa was already done to the 1983 LS standards. The 83 got the extra air vents here, the newer Gol writing, although the Copa is a different one because it has a little soccer ball. But yeah, this car is complete. It's the high-end spec Gol. I think it's almost one of the best Gols, air-cooled Gols ever made. Talking about fitment. Oh, another thing, it has a little spoiler, factory spoiler. Couldn't fit it on the Copa. This one was way better. Center console too, another feature. Set player. Copas were all gasoline powered, so it's gasoline on particular double parts as well. And if you drive this with the wheels, you realize it handles. I based the handling on this car with my real life car. In my 2 years doing balls and automation, I think this one is the one I nailed. Right, on to the next one. Next one is the L, but running on the ethanol. So this is pretty much the standard Gol that I showed you from the start of the video, but it is the top of the line version. So 1.3 liter air-cooled engine, double carbs running on ethanol. Has the two filler caps, red tail lights indicating it's a 1980 car. Interior, you can see this one's the well option one. Still no center console. This was an option on the LS. Headrest seats, cloth seats, complete dash with the working econometer. Now this is a pretty neat feature I was able to put on the car. This on Beamng has the function of reading engine load, which is pretty much what the econometer does. If I had this steering wheel hooked up, you were going to be able to really see it work when I have the throttle. it would read correctly how much I'm flooring it or not. Yeah, this is the standard one, one of the launch versions of Golf. Details that take it apart from the other Golf. Oh yeah, also you can see the chrome trim around everything, radio, cigarette lighter, all that. Only indication that this was an ethanol car was the two filler caps and this rare as hell badge that I found. There was no reference whatsoever that the Gauls had this badge, but I was rewatching a 1980 commercial for the Gaul and I noticed this badge. And when I went to buy my car, the guy that was selling me my car was telling me how the history that his neighbor bought one of these cars and that did have this little badge. These were more common on bugs with the ethanol engine, but the Gaul also had it. So here it is. I think it's probably the first Gaul on the internet. Definitely gaming to have the alcohol badge right there. Alcohol being what in Portuguese we call the ethanol fuel. Yeah, so the ethanol version compared to the gasoline is quite slow. You have a bit more high amp power, but it's a little slower, low end torque. The ethanol version are the exact same power, all technically a bit less power, same torque, but in a higher RPM. This is the one that really, very slow. Oops. Yeah, a lot of these cars don't have the full damage mod that the actual Beamng cars have, so it's more for the driving experience from, crashing and all of this stuff. Right, comes to the very special car, in my opinion, which is one of my favorite models. This is the first model of the Gaull that was presented to the public. This is the 1.3 liter L running on gasoline that was launched in May 5th, 1980. On its launch color, which was Delray Red, I think. Yeah, I think it's Delray Red or Tornado Red. I have to go look at the catalog again. Interior wise, same as the blue gold, the ethanol version. Really, this car only difference is it has the gasoline engine. Doesn't have the little call out plaque for the alcohol version. Doesn't have the extra filler cap. Has the chrome exhaust tip. This was I think it was a dealership accessory, which I've been hunting for my car because I think it looks really neat. And it's kind of random. You'll see Gauls that don't and that have them and don't have them. The cars on this pack, I based them off magazine cars. So this Gaul is based off the test car for Quattro Rodas. The blue Gaul is the test car for Motor Tres, and the LS Gaul is based off the test car for also for Motor Tres. Although, and the Copa, well, the Copa they don't have any difference, they all the same. Yeah, you can see gasoline version, a bit lower in torque, a bit more low in torque, tiny change and top end under is a bit more stronger. Yeah, but this is how the Gaul keeps going. You will notice if you're using headphones, the 1.3 liter cars are quieter than the 1.6 liter. That is true. Although they're not loud. If you want to compare how these cars sound compared to, for example, a Volkswagen, spawn the Piccolina that's in the game with like a stock Piccolina. They are pretty. They sound pretty close to a Beetle, then you hear what these cars sound like. Then as you can see on the dash, their economy that works, and if I have my steering wheel hooked up, I could just like lay my foot on it, just lay there. You can see it work, but can we go into the green scale and all that stuff? Yeah, this is the launch version of the Golf. If you want to have the horrible experience the press had with the performance of this car, download the pack and try it out. Right. Next one. Uh, yeah. This one I don't even need to talk about. This is a replica of my car, my actual car. My car, you probably know, but my car is a 1982 LS. And the funny thing about this car is actually I didn't replicate, I replicate my car, but I also replicate all the defects of my car. So you'll see the tach that doesn't read right. Uh, my idle speed that is, a bit off. It's just idling a bit too fast. But I like it. It helps these engines cool off while idling. You can see my keys. Where's my keychain? Oh, my seat is a bit ripped. I'm gonna remake this. It doesn't have the right taillights on the install my car because I made this back a bit before installing those. And it has my magazines and the older plates from my car back here. Yeah, and this is my actual magazine. And this is the test for motor trace. Which comes to the car we're gonna look next, which is the 1.6 LS, the factory one. Pretty much the same thing as my car, but this one being a 1981, which is the launch version of the 1.6 liter engine. So, comparing to the 1.3, what does this car have for you? Well, the 1.6 liter engine, initially only running on gasoline, um, and being the LS version, which was it wasn't higher spec, so explain what the LS was. So, the LS was the L with some optional items that were optional on the L are now standard on the LS. So radial tires were standard, front sway bar was standard, yeah, and some more knickknacks were standard on the LS and they were optional on the L, which, at the end of the day, you could just buy the L with the 1.3 liter engine just as equipped as an LS. And, well, like, you got some extra standard features. One thing you didn't get in the L was the 1.6 liter engine. And a curious thing, so you can see on the grill, just like my car, it has the LS emblem. On this fender, it has the 1.6 liter sticker. And in 1981, and I have the written account of Quattro Rodas about this, the 1.6 liter engine only came in one side of the car. I think Volkswagen was trying to save some dimes, and they only placed it on one side of the car because you needed to know it was a 1.6, but we're not paying for that. All the emblems correct, all LS, Volkswagen. Interior pretty much the same as the L. Well, yeah. You can see this one has a bit of a throatier exhaust being the 1.6. Accelerates pretty well to 80 kilometers an hour after that. Yep, it is which comes to a curious thing. In 1984, Quattro Rodas magazine got 15 cars, or we called them Carros Nacionais, which were cars that were made in Brazil. Cars were available to the public in Brazil. Imports being banned at the time. And they actually got Ayrton Senna to test these cars. And one of those cars was the Gull LS 1984 Gull LS 1984 1.6 liter engine, gasoline powered the test. And Senna tested out the car. And the first thing he said getting out this car was, "This car doesn't." Like he hated it. I can't think of a direct translation to what he said. Like he said, "Esse carro não me agrada nada." Like, this car doesn't please me on anything. He thought the car was noisy. He never told him to make understand that. He said that the car in the lower gears, first and second lower gears, was actually a bit fun, but the magic of the car just completely wore off once you stuck it in third. Engine didn't have enough torque to carry out. Fourth gear was a long for an air-cooled engine, but compared to modern engines, this engine just screamed constantly at speed. And a thing that is, it's more personal taste for him. He didn't like cars that were tail happy. I like it. It's fun driving the car. The rear end's a bit loose, but yeah, he didn't enjoy it. I'm not gonna say I'm surprised, given he was spokesperson for Ford in Brazil, doing a lot. Given an Escort XR3 at the time from Ford. It was his personal car here in Brazil. Yeah, I wasn't expecting him to say good things about the car, any car from the competition. But yeah, some of the points that he said about the car are completely valid. The Gauntlet at this time was it was designed really to feel just. You have to understand Brazil at the time. It was a military dictatorship. We're on extreme economic recession, and Volkswagen was trying to develop something that was cheap and would sell under those conditions. And you can't do that and be like an excellent car. They did their best. Like these cars are, nowadays they're curious and almost fun thing to drive, but at the time it wasn't the happiest solution. Which comes to the little fun car in the pack that I made. Uh, this Golf, I kind of placed it circa 1987, how a Brazilian enthusiast would mod a Golf at the time. So under the hood we have a 1.7 liter engine with rearward heads, bigger carburetors, 3-dimension exhaust with a straight through exhaust running to the back until it meets a muffler from the GT version. Stock suspension, but it has has like, at the time they would get the springs, they would either cut the springs, which was a common modification since we didn't have a sport suspension here in Brazil or lower suspension, or they would, heat treat the springs so they would be a bit lower in the car, which is what this car has. It follows the trend of the time that they would try to get as much of the chrome out of the car. I still left the side chrome. I think it looked prettier. But yeah, they would just remove all the chrome they could find. It has the Norfolk bumper guards, GT muffler. It has this Sierra 2 fog lights, although this one I don't have the cover, so they work. Interior-wise, you have a banging stereo, as James was saying top here. You have your cassette player with equalizer. You have 6x6 speakers on the door card. You have two subwoofers and two tweeters on the back, on the trunk covering. The tweeters, I either found to place them here. I placed them here for a curious thing. My car has holes on the privacy cover for the trunk for tweeters there, which I thought it was a curious thing that I had it, so I put it there just to an homage to my car. But they would also put it up here on the door cards. It has a Walrod XK steering wheel. Walrod was, it's not an imported steering wheel, it's a nationally made steering wheel in Brazil. It came factory on the 1600S Beetle. It came factory on Charger RTs here. It came factory on Opala SS's. And Walrod actually comes from Walter Rodrigues, which was the founder of the company. Yeah, you think it's like an imported steering wheel. No, it's Walter Rodrigues. It's the guy making the steering wheel on his backyard. But that's the fun thing about Brazil. It was like a very it was the birth of the automotive scene, and so you're gonna get a lot of backyard engineering with these modified cars. The wheels, you're gonna think, oh, Ferrari wheels. Yeah, Brazil actually had a company called Rodão, which they would make replicas of imported wheels and make them here in Brazil. So the P slots were made here. A lot of imported wheels that you'll recognize were made here in like kind of bootleg versions here in Brazil. And the Ferrari rims were one of those, so that's why I decided to put these rims here in the car. Another modification, even though BMW was never sold in Brazil, well, it was sold in the 60s, it was a pretty common thing to install the blackout versions of BMW mirrors, which is what I have here. And yeah, so let's take a ride of this one. This one is pretty fun to drive because it has a sporty little exhaust. Hell yeah. It is a straight-through air-cooled engine. Probably running no air filters. You get a lot of intake and exhaust noise. It doesn't go very fast, so this one brings out I based it off an ethanol version of the 1.6 LS car. And the curious thing is, you can see dash on these cars, like every single item was an option. So economy was an option, bottom was an option, reserve light on the for the fuel gauge was an option, partial down was an option. The base car that they based this one off is pretty common for you'll see, has partial odometer and the clock, but the guy that modified this car installed the tag for the Voyage and the Parati, which had the water-cooled engine, so it had a higher red line. But for a modified boxer engine, it's pretty good. Another thing, set tape, top 10 of 1986, because why not? And not a speaker. During this program, yeah, I'm gonna say some it was more of like all show and some low. Also another thing, so that stopping is a bit of a chore. But yeah, that is the air-cooled golf pack. I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, link to download the pack is link for the pack is down below. Download them, enjoy them, and give me feedback. I am gonna work on the GT pack for the water-cooled cars. Maybe even just instead of doing just the GTs, I'm gonna do all the water-cooled cars, so the SPLS and all that stuff. Yeah. Hope you enjoyed, and see you guys next time.